Hi, folks. Welcome to the next episode of ServerlessCraic. With me, Dave Anderson. I'm Technical Fellow at Bizarre Voice and author and contributor to Serverless Edge.
Michael O'Reilly, software architect with Globalization Partners and contributor to the Serverless Edge. Hello, everyone.
Mark McCann, author and contributor to Serverless Edge, stay-at-home dad.
Very good. So we're continuing our conversation about the well-architected framework and our favorite pillar. I think at the end, we should announce what our favorite pillar is. We're going to talk about the reliability pillar today. I have a couple of previous episodes on some other pillars like operational excellence and security. So reliability is a funny pillar. It's got four sections: foundations, workload architecture, change management, and failure management. It's funny when you look at this. If you're building in a traditional way, this is a huge amount of work. You could spend an awful long time getting this right. Really trendy DR stuff, disaster recovery. It's very complicated, traditional. But we're serverless heads. So a lot of these things are, I wouldn't say they're completely taken care of by AWS, but AWS make it a lot easier to do some of these things. A lot of your service quotas and constraints are just baked in for the foundations. From a change management perspective, there's, you want to get into the continuous delivery kind of mindset. So there's a lot of monitoring and things kind of baked in if you use the modern tools. From a failure management perspective, the serverless is ephemeral. So, it's built for retries. So you can design things in a way that some of those areas are slightly, I wouldn't say slightly easier to work with, but not as hard. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree with that. When you kind of look at the foundation section of the reliability pillar, it's, if you're not kind of working with, the serverless end of things, you're probably going to be looking at, how do we plan for, so we don't over provision or we don't overspend, and how do we scale that up effectively? And you will put a lot of time into the foundational element of the reliability space. Whereas I think if you're in serverless, you still need to look at foundations, but I think it's less intensive. So you are looking at things like DNS, or how you route effectively and things like that. So yeah, I kind of agree with that. Apologies, Mark, I don't want to talk over you.
No, I think yeah, absolutely. I think you still need to worry about quotas and some of the constraints and resource constraints of your account. And if you followed the operational excellence and the security pillars, I guess, and you have pretty granular accounts, you're hopefully not stepping on too many toes in the same account. So that's less of an issue, but it's more just being aware of your quotas and the size of your workload, and making sure that those higher level quotas are big enough for the demand that you're going to have. So you still need to be wary of it, but it's not a big deal. It's more just putting in the request and requesting more a bigger quota, which is a lot easier than ordering up another 5 racks or a couple of IFLs for your mainframe.
That's also worth mentioning. With a lot of the serverless services, there are fairly tight quotas there, but they're not there because there's no capacity. They're there to stop you being crazy and setting off like a million different lambdas or something. So it's no problem to get them extended. It's just they protect you more than it's a lack of capacity.
Yeah, and I think just from a you're starting at a more mature reliability standpoint when you adopt a serverless and a service full approach. So from a change management point of view, a lot of the sort of adapting to change is sort of built into the way that the serverless capabilities and managed services operate, right? So you're not worrying so much about it. So it's good. And from a failure management point of view, a lot of that's baked in, especially if you've built the event-driven, asynchronous sort of workload, using SNS, SQS, Event Bridge. A lot of that, circuit breaker type mentality, a lot of that retry and the dead letter queues, a lot of that's just coming out of the box now, and increasingly they're maturing those type of capabilities to make it easier for teams to have almost like a default, very resilient, very reliable capability.
Yeah. the workload architecture. I mean, I know we've done talks before around, how serverless kind of influences workload architecture, and certainly in here, serverless influences how we would architect workloads that are serverless. So, like for example, with serverless architectures, you tend to go down the micro path, as microservice or micro front end, and obviously it's fairly opinionated. So there's only so many ways in which you can kind of connect these things up, and it's aimed at for speed, cost, effectiveness, and obviously then reliability. And you do get things in there that, if you are using Lambda, what is it, 6 AZs wide, in terms of the HA side of things, and it's the same with things like DynamoDB or Aurora or whatever we tend to be using. There's a lot of this stuff that's that AWS has kind of thought about for you in relation to the foundational side, and you can kind of benefit from that, and then that influences how you actually assemble your workload in terms of the workload architecture. You got to work within those constraints effectively.
Yeah.
And the thing is, one of the big. Go ahead.
I'm going to say, I mean, what's interesting is like the reliability pillar in well architected has been there for 8 years, but they've just recently added this new section, which is workload architecture. And one of the questions is specifically like, how do you design interactions in a distributed system to prevent failures? So there's a specific section there about how do you design distributed workloads. So that's definitely, that's more than a nod. It's proof that a lot of the customers are moving more towards distributed microservice, modern application stacks. So there's a lot of depth behind that, and to do that well, you need like upfront design. You need to sit and think about your system before you actually design it. You can't kind of code your way out of it.
Yeah, and I love the reference there to domain-driven design, and we're big fans of applying a domain-driven approach, and using techniques like event storming to really break down those boundaries, those domains, and understand the flow of events through your system. It really lends itself to breaking it up into more manageable sort of domains and chunks that you can then test in isolation, and you can have different sort of characteristics for each of those domains.
And I do think, I mean, like we said at the top of the session, that serverless makes some of these things easier, but the time that you don't spend, messing with retries, you put that time into your domain design. So it's it's equal amount of effort, and it's still challenging, but you're putting your precious time into your system design as opposed to tuning some kind of non-functional things.
Yeah.
So it's still difficult, and it's still hard to build these systems, but I firmly believe you get a better system at the end of the day.
Yeah, and the serverless lens, if I remember right, I could be misremembering, but from the serverless lens and the questions around the reliability pillar, because serverless does auto scale, some of the questions are geared towards, well, if we auto scale this serverless component, what sort of load or pressure is it putting in something that maybe doesn't auto scale? Yeah. So it's kind of forcing you to think about, well, am I going to break something?
Yep.
Where's the choke points? Should you be throttling your workload? Should you be setting constraints on the scalability of your serverless workload?
Yeah, so you've seen the denial of wallet type questions around. Do you really want to scale infinitely and cost you a fortune? And those type of questions get to the something that we're very passionate about, is that testing for resilience and continuous resiliency, and having these type of tests, days or game days that can help sort of tease out where are the choke points, where are your failure cases, where are the downstream systems that can't respond or can't take the load as you pass it to it, right? So a lot of this is, yes, it's easier to do it in serverless. Yes, it's massively important to set up your design properly, but you can get good feedback by testing for this stuff. And you've seen the maturity of the fault injection service come out. It's pretty much EC2 sort of, and some of the services at the minute, but I'm hoping to see that evolve and mature to be much more serverless focused as well. But it's a lot easier to test for resiliency, so you're not just guessing anymore. You have actual real automation, and you've baked it into your sort of your CI/CD pipeline as well.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I remember building distributed systems 20 years ago, and you had to but an awful lot of time and effort, and to do some of the things you can do now by checking a box. So
Yeah.
it's insane. The very advanced kind of testing and resilience practices you can put in now. Exciting times. So
Yeah.
that's the crack. That's the reliability pillar. Thanks for listening. Some of our blog is on the serverlessedge.com, and we'll be tweeting away at Serverless Edge Twitter handle, plus LinkedIn, dev.to, and Medium. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.